Hello everyone. We're doing the topic Tuesday this week, and I haven't had to cancel, so I'm really happy. And I was on time despite the fact that my children really didn't want to go away from where we were going this morning. They were having so much fun, but we managed it, so here I am. I'm going to wait a little bit to see who's going to come on to the live call, because I had a couple of people who said they wanted to attend. It doesn't matter if you watch this video live or if you watch the replay. I will come back to it if you have any questions or if you want to comment. So feel free to comment on the video as you listen to it if you come back to it after I'm finished. I'd love to have your feedback on it, or even understand if it's been of some help and interest to you. This is actually a very dear subject to me, the subject of channeling, but it's also a subject that I've been hiding for years as a writer because I was afraid people would make fun of me. Because channeling is still a bit of a taboo, or considered a bit far off in the writing world. But today I want to talk to you a little bit about why this is actually a false issue and how, well, I don't want to reveal everything before I get started, but I'm really excited to talk about what I'm going to talk about today. So let's see, I'm going to give time for people to come on. If you join this call, just type in the comments, say hi, or click a little like or heart so that I know that you're here. I'm going to get started in a minute. Okay, I think I'm going to get started because, as I said, it doesn't matter if you watch it now as a live or if you join later. So, until 2008, I had actually very little idea what channeling was about. I might have had a book about channeling and I was intrigued by it, but to me, it belonged to weird people who wore flowers in their heads, in their hair, sorry, who ate vegan food and who were into galactic councils. Okay, so no offense if you're into all of that, this is wonderful. But I thought it was like a separate group of people that had nothing to do with me. And you may or may not know that I used to be a corporate lawyer for more than 15 years, so my world was very, very different from the world of channelers. I didn't consider myself as a channel at all. But I suppose I had this curiosity about it because my grandmother was psychic and my grandfather was a healer, even though I never met him in this world, on planet Earth. And I don't even know why I signed up for this course, but in 2008, in October, I still remember the place, everything, the people who were in there. It transformed my life so much that it's a very, very vivid memory. I did a mediumship intensive 1-week course, okay? And okay, so that was with people who wanted to be mediums, and I had no idea at all what was going to happen to me, or what the program was. I just knew I'd signed up for this week. What was really, really interesting is that in that week we went first. She built up, I suppose, how we worked, and we started with actually automatic writing, which I'd never done in my entire life. I had no idea how to do it. It's fairly simple, but and so she asked us to write about a topic. We were each given a topic, and she asked us to write about this topic first with our normal consciousness, I guess you could call that, and then she asked us to talk about it after doing a small meditation and by channeling. She didn't call it channeling, but she said now you're going to let the words come to you instead of thinking them. So that's the difference. It's that they literally come out of your mouth when you channel, and you don't know what you're going to say before you say it. Now, it wasn't just with me. The contrast between what people said in the two different modes was enormous. It was mind-blowing. The first, when we were talking about this topic with our heads or mind, our intellectual mind, people said a lot. They stopped. There was a lot of hesitation, a lot of nervousness because we had to speak in front of the whole group. And then as soon as she took us through that little meditation, suddenly everything flowed. And we said things that were, all of us, that were really, really inspiring. And the contrast, and I think it was great that she showed us the difference, like literally 5 minutes apart. And it was the first day, so none of us had, some people had gone through trainings with her before, but for me it was completely new, so it wasn't like I had practiced or anything. And the contrast was so amazing that I thought that she's onto something. And the thing is, I had read about automatic writing before, but again, for me, it wasn't for me. I didn't click how it could be connected to me, okay? And so after that, she took us through various things. And by the end of the week, we did some proper mediumship. So we let a spirit person talk through us. And to say I was terrified doesn't even begin to touch it. But we don't have to go there today, because I just want to give you an idea of how channeling can transform your writing. Now, it doesn't matter if you call it channeling. You can call it just inspiration, connect to the muse, whatever, okay? It is channeling, but it doesn't matter what you call it. And if it's a word that makes you uncomfortable, choose another word, okay? But what I realized with this training, this is what I wanted to say first, because I did a bit of channeling before I did this, I came on to the video, is that doing this training, intensive training of 5 or 7 days, I can't remember if it was the whole week or just 5 days, made me realize that I had channeled all my life. I just didn't know what it was. So as a child, I remember the first instance I actually channeled, I was about 8 years old. And for some reason that I still don't understand, when I was a child, a lot of people came to confide their problems in me, even sometimes much older people than me. And I remember the first time at 8, but then it went on. I remember talking to them when they were sharing their problems, and the wisdom that came out of my mouth was way beyond my years. What I talked about, what I said to try and comfort these people that I could see were in pain, just blew my mind. I was like, I kept on thinking, I'm not wise enough for this. I'm not old enough to say things like this. And that's how I realized I was a natural channel. But if you want my opinion, I think we're all channelers, especially as children, but then we unlearn it. So what I want is for you to understand that this is a natural gift, just like intuition. We can all tap into this bigger energy, the conscious mind, whatever you want to call it, that can help us to be better, whatever we want to be. And in our case, because we're all writers, we can be better writers. Okay, I never thought it would have anything to do with writing, but actually it took my writing to the next level. That was in October 2008, and I'd had a writer's block for more than 10 years. Now, that combined with the training in clinical hypnotherapy that I did the year before is what completely launched me as an author into a different experience. On the back of that, I was able to channel a book in 4 weeks. My book, The Journey of the Slim Soul, I know the angels wrote it through me. Even though I wasn't aware still that this is what was happening, when I looked back after I was finished, I was like, where did this all came from? I was able to look back into my life and realize that actually all my art that I'd done up to then was channeled as well. Now, I don't know if I can show you. Yeah, I can show you one of my mosaics that's in the office here. It's just a bit tricky now because here's one of the mosaics I've done channeled. And sadly, I don't have the first one I ever made, but that was so obvious. One of the very first mosaics I made, and I had no training in mosaics at all. I consciously decided not to train or do art school because I wanted to keep my creativity intact. And the first mosaic I did was it blew my mind. When I looked at it, I thought, I can't do this. I've never done mosaics. This is not possible. And it's only in 2009 or 8, sorry, when I looked back and I thought, so I've channeled all my art. This is what was actually happening. So what I'll do is I'll post a picture of the first mosaic that I made. It's not exactly the first mosaic. I did one before that, but this is the first, like, probably where I allowed all the energy to flow through me, all the creativity. Because before I did that, I was incapable of even using color in art. All I did was those Indian ink drawings on paper. I was incapable of using color. So the contrast is so enormous that it just explains a little bit why it was so mind-blowing. So looking back, I realized as a child, I channeled words of wisdom. Then as a lawyer, I had a 15-year career as a lawyer, very successful. I used to negotiate big deals. I used to work with CEOs and involved with lots of people. And I was inspired through my work. I always did things that nobody else had done before, pulled it out of thin air. There was something bigger than me. And then I just mentioned the example of being a mosaicist. That definitely was channeled art, and it blew my mind as well. I'm just going to check very quickly. I don't think any one of you has joined the live yet, but I see a few pings from from my computer, so I wanted to check if there was any questions from anyone. All right, so why is channeling so vital to your writing? I believe channeling takes you from being good to being a genius. All right, I believe that all the geniuses of this world were channeling something bigger than them. The Einsteins, the Da Vincis, you name it, whether they were artists, business people, scientists that brought in incredible innovation, I think they all got their inspiration from the spirit world, even if they didn't know they were doing that. I think in creativity, there's that place, if you go into the zone, basically you become a conduit for ideas. It's no longer you, it's something much, much bigger. It's something bigger that the world needs through you. So it's quite important to learn how to become a good channel so you can let those ideas flow through you. And I'm also a healer, and I like to compare my healing work to that of a channel as well. I channel healing energy. I channel messages as well because I do readings. It's all a bit mixed up together. But what I will say is that, and this is one of the things that people don't often realize, you can only channel to the level of wisdom or the well of expertise where you are. Because it's like pouring a liquid through a hose. If the hose is small, or if it's dirty, or if it's got knots everywhere, then the channeling can't take place as well as it should be. So you want to learn to clear your channel. You want to learn to clear all your negative blocks. You want to clear your beliefs. You want to clear everything so that you can become as pure a channel for your book. Because I believe books write themselves through us rather than we write and will our books into existence. And believe me, when you start doing that, your experience is going to be completely different. Instead of laboring and pushing through the energy and forcing yourself to sit down to write at your desk, it's going to become almost a blissful experience. And I'm loving this word because I know that Joseph Campbell is one of the guides in my teams as a writer, and he always talked about following your bliss. And I will tell you something, even though I've written for now over 20 years, I did have a 10-year writer's block when I pivoted into art, and that was very good for me. It taught me a lot, as well as helped me to channel and get over myself. But Joseph Campbell always said to follow your bliss. So I want you to be able to channel so that you bring joy into your writing. For me, if I start down to write, there is no effort, there is no pain, there is none of that. Of course, sometimes I can write about things that are painful, but it's completely different. The joy is still there. And the reason I think that this is my experience as a writer is so joyful, so effortless, so easy, is that it's bigger than me. It's so much bigger than me. And it's almost like it's a date with the universe. It's a date with the bigger picture. It's the date with the infinite world of possibilities. And I believe that if you can harness that energy, harness that gift in you, and we all have it in you, your writing will be transformed. If you manage to connect to the energy of the book that wants to be written through you right now, and it might not be the one that you have in mind. It's happened twice to me that I started off thinking I was supposed to write one book, another book popped up, everything was turned upside down. It can be a bit annoying, but honestly, the result is so amazing that it's really worth letting go of control as a writer. Now, there's one risk when you channel, is that you think if it's channeled, it's good. Now, the essence of it might be good, but you shouldn't publish what you channel exactly as it is. You still need to combine your craft with your channeling. And I find that most channelers fall into that trap of saying, oh, I've channeled it, I'm just going to give it as it is. Now, it's okay if you write a blog. It's okay if you do, a bit of channeling like I do, I can do on the video or something. But if you want to write a book, you want to be professional. If you want to write a book that people are going to respect and are going to recommend and for it to be published, I believe that you should take yourself as a writer seriously. And that means learning the craft, learning how to tell a story, learning how to... You can get all the inspiration in the world, but if you don't look after your human, the human that is going to translate all those ideas, then they won't be translated at a very good level. For example, you could get a brilliant inspiration for a story given by spirit, your guides, whatever. But then if as a writer you're not mature, or you don't have the skills, or you haven't built up an understanding of what makes good writing, then these good ideas might go to waste, because they will not be implemented in the way that they could, the standard that they could. Okay, I think this is where I come in. I love to say you need to marry logic to magic. So the logic side is to learn the craft, understand what makes a good grammatical structure, what makes a good story, how a story is built, the beginning, middle, end, what makes a good character, all that, and then pull it all together, whether you're doing a non-fiction, a memoir, or a novel, put it all together and then deliver it to the standard of human writing, okay? Because that's also another thing that I've observed in certain writers, and they work for some people, but for me, because I love books so much, because books have been my friends all my life, if I see someone who is spiritual and writes a book that is spiritual, it is spiritual, but as a story, the whole seams of the story are so obvious that I get no enjoyment as a reader, because I can see... let's see, yeah, I think I'm back. So if I can see the seam of the stories and there's no surprise, and there's no excitement as a reader, then I kind of shut down a bit from the writer. And I think that's a pity, because I want books to be born that will be a marriage between literature and spirituality. A true marriage that will take it that much further, that people can be inspired, because I believe the world needs a lot of books. A lot of people are lost spiritually because they can't connect anymore to the world of religion, organized religion, or and I'm sorry, the internet's not that good, so they can't relate to the old religious system, but then they haven't found anything else to replace it, so they're in this no man's land. And I believe we need as many writers as we can to put books in their hands that will give them a way back to love, a way back to source, a way back to spirit, but also a way back to their own hearts. So I'm here to help writers who want to write with their hearts, story that will move others and that will open others spiritually. That doesn't mean the book has to have a spiritual title or anything. It can be a mainstream book, but instead of being pure entertainment, it will have a depth to it that will make people wonder or question, or maybe there's going to be an element. So instead of, very often in regular entertainment literature, as I like to call it, you would have a psychic in it that would be almost a cliche. It'd be like they would have all these dangling earrings and wear purple or whatever it is. I love purple, by the way, but and that would put people off almost, because this cliche comes into it, and then with it all the myths or all the assumptions about what a psychic looks like. Or, as my son mentioned recently, they were watching a crime film, and there was a hypnotherapist in there apparently who used her skills for evil, that sort of thing. Okay, so that's classic entertainment literature. I want to go further than that. I want to, for my writers, I like to call you my writers, I want for my writers to write things that will blow people's minds away, and that will open them up to true spirituality, which is basically love. Everything boils down to love. If you hear something about spirituality that talks about fear, about judgment, about separation, then it's not spirituality. It's something else. And I find one of my purpose on this planet as a writer is to open people's eyes to that, but to do that mainstream. I don't want to write a book, yet another book about channeling, for example, or yet another book about the codes of power and stuff like that. Or no, I want to go where people are. I don't want, mainstream spirituality, I call it. So that's been a long explanation, and funnily enough, now that I've embraced my my channeling to the level that it is, I was contacted about a week or two ago, and at first I didn't just get it. I was like, okay, maybe. You often think it's your imagination. I still do, because I have this really logical, analytical of a lawyer's brain wired into me. But it looks like, sorry, it looks like there's a collective of writers who want to work with me to help me in the work that I do at my business, which is called I Can Make You Write. So I often wondered, because when I get inspiration, when I get messages for people, I very rarely have the name of the guide that's saying it. It's only very, very recently that my guides have revealed their names, but this is why this collective has come, I think, because I really don't care who speaks. When I get guidance, I just give it as it is. I never name drop, usually. I say usually because I've been a little bit more courageous now to own the fact that I work with Joseph Campbell, which is pretty recent. It's like only a couple of months. And I still, I'm still a bit nervous mentioning it and thing, because I'm afraid someone will judge me. But that's my issue. I need to get over that completely. If it puts someone off, then they're not right to work with me anyway. But I understand why this collective of writers are coming through, because what matters to them is that brilliant stories be written, or brilliant books. It's not just about novels, non-fiction too, that will make a difference in the world. And so they've shown themselves to me as these beautiful groups, and they call themselves the W's for writers. And in there could be just anyone. There could be some brilliant writers in heaven, Oscar Wilde. I can't remember. I'm not going to drop names, because the point is they want to do this anonymously. And they want to do this for the love of writing. They have this passion for writing, and even though they've gone back to the spirit world, they still want to be involved in the new books that are going to be born in this era. They want to be on the leading edge of writing, and I feel so privileged that they've chosen me as a channel to help facilitate this. So this was my little spiel about channeling, how channeling can help your writing, why you should embrace it. You don't have to talk about it, okay? I talk about it now more openly in this group because I don't want to be vanilla anymore. I don't want to pretend I'm not a channeler when I am. I'm connected with angels. I'm connected now with the W's who want to work through me to help me teach others how to write their inspirational book. This is my calling. It's also because they know, and I know, that writing a story, your story, or putting as much of you in a book can be extremely healing. And they want to use the writing as a healing tool for anyone who's ready to embrace it. So, and I'm a healer too, so that's why they chose me, because I combined all these elements in me. I'm not just a writer, I'm not just a channeler, I'm not just a healer, I'm all of it together. Okay, so I hope this Topic Tuesday was interesting for you. I see that nobody made it live, and that's absolutely fine. I'm going to do another one next week. I have no idea what it's going to be about, but I would love for you to suggest some topics if you're interested. And then I'll look into and tune in to see what my W group wants to say about it. They were pretty excited about the channeling bit. They're the ones who gave me the idea. Okay, so have a great week, everyone. I will come back to do some more talking next week. This time, 12:30. I'm trying to make it work for both people in America, people in Europe, and people in Australia. So I don't know if the hour is really good for everyone, but hopefully I'll see some more of you next week. And if you watch the replay, thank you for joining, and feel free to drop some comments in under this video. That's really what it's for. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye for now.